Hello, everyone. Okay, wait, gotta plug the phone in. I'm just getting back from a performance, not as a performer, as a spectator. It does happen. And I think I also have a line from my helmet. If you're riding an electric scooter, you better be wearing a helmet, guys. I want you safe. The house is a mess, to say the least. You don't see it now, but it does exist. So I think I should probably deal with that. I had to share the most hilarious mistake. I'm wondering if any of you caught, which was that I just posted a reading wrap-up for August. I put in the details, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then I see a comment from Hannah May on BookTube, who I'm sure a lot of you watch her. And she was like, Ben, my hun, it's not 2020 anymore. And then I look, and the title of the video is August Wrap-Up 2020. So obviously, I don't know what's going on in that thing called time. Anyway, that's all probably incredibly boring to you. But I did want to update you on reading things, which was that I'm participating in, and I think that this is the kind of, hopefully the theme of this video, is I'm playing Blurb Telephone, which is Julie's game tag that Julie, if you don't watch her, is Linen Librarian. I will put her channel downstairs. Love her. She's based in Seattle. She's a librarian, and she makes just lovely content, and just such a great soul. Anyway, Julie made her own game called Blurb Telephone, which means that you read a book, and then based on the blurbs of different authors, that's how you choose the author of your next book, and then you see a blurb on that from another author, and you pick a book from that author, and on and on and on and on, and it creates this like chain telephone game. First of all, brilliant. And she made a funny joke that like you probably will end up reading Lauren Groff because she kind of blurbs everything. So let me go get the books. What am I doing? They're over here, one of them. So the first book that I already read is Indelicacy by Amina Cain. I'll talk about it maybe more at another time, because I need to get some stuff done tonight. But I loved this. This lovely little copy was passed on to me by Rebecca. She ate this book, and then I ate this book, and it was truly delicious and tasty and scrumptious. I loved this so much. I recently read Creature by Amina Cain, her previous book of short stories, or short fiction, they're called. And I loved that also. So Amina Cain has become really one of my favorite authors. And don't you just love that cover? Blurbed, at the top of the back of this, is Jenny Offill, author of Weather, and I read Department of Speculation this year, and it's probably in my top 3 books of the year. I loved it so much, but I haven't read Weather. So once I finished this, I picked up Weather, which is on my Kindle, and I have about 10 pages left, so I will finish that tonight. I can say I like it less than Department of Speculation. I still really think that, like, I'm still a Jenny Offill fan, and I love the way she writes, and she is also hilarious. There's something really human about her writing. Well, like, the funniest people are the ones that can also make you cry, and I feel like that's the kind of humanity that her writing has. It's just can trigger me in all ends of the spectrum. But Weather, I like it a bit less. It's a quick read, fragmentary, I think under 150 pages, so perfect for the Tiny Book Challenge if you're joining for with Jessica's book stack. Then Department of Speculation, oh, I'm squatting. I don't know why I'm doing that, and I get these shoes off. A Kindle copy of Weather did not have any blurbs of any author on them. And then I even Googled author blurbs on Weather Jenny Offill, and it also did not offer me very much from the World Wide Web. As mentioned on Instagram, like, what am I supposed to do? I'm failing the Blurb Telephone challenge. And a few cuties on Instagram sent me pictures of their physical copies of Weather, which were blurbed by Ocean Vuong, Ben Lerner, and Sheila Heti. I'm in between my next read being... The only Sheila Heti I haven't read is How Should a Person Be, which people are incredibly divided on. I know my sister Ignacia, Literary Iggy, did not get on with that book and enjoys trashing it. So I'll either try that one or Ben Lerner. I've been wanting to read The Hatred of Poetry. And then when I was in Sophie's house in Brooklyn, she told me that he has kind of a trilogy, and one of the books called 1004, she said is absolutely beautiful. She really, really loved 1004. So maybe 1004 is where to go. I think that's all that's interesting. Okay, before I fall asleep here, I gotta go do some stuff. Bye. Hi, so I do so much wish that we are in full-blown autumn season, but it is still bloody hot here. But anyway, I'm manifesting it. No, it is quite nice to sit in the sun a little bit. I have a day off from work, and we took a little trip to the north to visit Ohad's family. Now we just have like a chill day today. But anyway, I wanted to update you because since the last time we spoke, I chose my third book for the Blurb Telephone. And I was in between a Ben Lerner and Sheila Heti, and I went with How Should a Person Be by Sheila Heti. So since we last spoke, I have finished said 3 books of the Blurb Telephone. So let's roll it back and talk a little bit more about each one, because I didn't really go into it in that clip. Indelicacy by Amina Cain. I told you that I had just finished it and that I loved it, and I truly did love this book. You know, Renee from So I Read This Book, she didn't like completely get on with this book. And I could see how it would be not for everyone, or you would need to be even just in a really specific headspace or mood to kind of just fall in love with this book. I mean, I would recommend it, and I really love it, but I do think it wouldn't be everyone's vibe. So we're following a woman whose name only comes up like once towards the end of the book, and now I can't even remember what her name is. Vittoria, I think is her name. So she is a cleaner in an art museum, and she really wishes not to be a cleaner of an art museum and to wish to be a writer. She feels that that's her calling. She really wants to have time and resource to write, and she spends a lot of her days cleaning with another cleaner named Antoinette. I kind of envision their life past this job, and when she's has time off or in between shifts, or when she's just, there's nothing to clean, she just looks at paintings in the art museum, and she writes about them, and she writes them in kind of vivid detail. So this is sort of actually the 3 books that I read this week are very much meta fiction, in the sense that they all deal with some kind of writer character, and what they're talking about writing is also inside the book. This feels to me, although I'm not familiar with classics, although maybe I'll make a video about some stuff that I want to read in the fall season, and I would like to pick up like a classic, but this has that feeling of like It says in the back, reminiscent of a lost Victorian classic in miniature. This woman marries a rich man, and then all of a sudden has all the resource to become a writer. And obviously it's not that easy. She still struggles to write. Now she has a cleaner in her house that cleans for her, and that's kind of puts her in a strange place. She's not sure what to do with. They don't get along. I think the cleaner's name is Solange. It's hard to explain this book. It's very quiet. It's very observational. And maybe if she goes to the country, she'll be able to write more. Maybe if she gets rid of her husband, then she'll be able to write more. But also being with her husband has kind of pushed her up into the upper echelon where she has the kind of privilege to be able to just write all day long. And you know, her husband doesn't think that she's a writer. Barriers of women and literature. I really love the kind of seeing aspect to this. It's a lot of descriptions of paintings and paintings that reflect moments in life. And I like this kind of blurry line between life and art, literally inside the description of the painting. So that I just really enjoyed, and I could have just read that for the whole thing and I would have been satisfied. She meets a friend who's a dancer, who's a ballerina. Those moments were a little bit cringe for me just because I'm a dancer. So if you write about dance, it can be comforting and at the same time like irritating. I ate this book up. And it felt like you're inside this woman's mind. I don't know, I just liked it. Hard to say more. The next book that I read was Jenny Offal's Weather, which I said that I liked a bit less than Department of Speculation. We're following a married woman who has gotten a job as a librarian in a library, but she's not really qualified. She doesn't have like the education specifically to become a librarian, but she kind of gets a way in through someone she knows or something. And she also begins answering emails and kind of being sort of a personal assistant for this woman who runs a podcast. Also, this whole book is sort of around the election of Trump. And yeah, I mean, I like the fragmentary pace of Jenny Offal. I think she's really funny. I enjoyed the whole thing was sort of like, we're on the brink of possible disaster, and how do we all deal with such scary weather that is approaching our political climate and just our lives? How do we reckon with that? So everyone's kind of in a state of preparation for a disaster, and how it can kind of leave you like sort of discombobulated. Yeah, and people are writing really existential questions in on this podcast. Some like really lefties, and then some very far right-wing people asking different things, and she's answering these emails like in a kind of funny way. I think like to read it at the time it was published would have made it even stronger. But yeah, I thought it was good, but not as good as Department of Speculation. Like, I think about Department of Speculation probably on a weekly basis, and I don't think I will think about weather very much, but I still enjoyed it, and her characters are always really have a sense of humor, and married life is portrayed in a really funny way, and sex and long-term relationships. Yeah, so anyway, I enjoyed it. And then I decided to go with How Should a Person Be by Sheila Heti, which I said has people divided. Some people love it, some people hate it. And I absolutely loved this book. I have got to chat with Iggy about it because she hated it. Following a character whose name now is, Sheila. I think it's called like, How Should a Person Be? A Novel from Life. And it's following Sheila, who's living in Toronto, who's friends with Margot. And I was talking to Rebecca Eats Books, about this book. I texted her if she'd read it, and she said yes, she loved it. And that Sheila Heti's actual best friend's name is Margot, who is a painter, also like in the book. And she sent me the painter's website, and that was like a whole other layer of like autofiction that I found really interesting about this book. But she's dealing a lot with, this character is really busy with, what does it mean to be a person? How should she be? How should Sheila be? How should a person be? And how should an artist be? She's struggling to write this play. She's been trying to write this play like forever and she can't write it. It's basically chronicling this really fraught relationship between her and Margot. And sometimes, I must say, books about complicated friendships like aren't the easiest for me to just like fall into and enjoy, but this one I really did. And Sheila is not likable, I would say, so I could understand if she's like just pretentious and annoying, and she's really an overthinker, you know, which is relatable, but I think not everyone likes to read from that perspective or like with this kind of character. But wow, I just thought it was so interesting. Like, she's just really, Sheila Heti, in all of the books that I've read of hers, she's really busy with this question, what does it mean to be an artist? And what does it mean to be a person that's an artist in the world? And it's a question she asks herself in every book that she writes in a different way. And she never really gives an answer because there is not one answer to that question. But I think the questioning of it is really fascinating as an artist and just as a person in the world. My ear is clicking, that's weird. I think Sheila Heti is brilliant. This book is pretty graphic, I would say, sexually, which I wasn't completely expecting. And also, yeah, Sheila has this like really weird relationship with this very toxic man named Israel. So all the passages about Israel are like really, really fucking weird. And this man is like just crazy. And, you know, Sheila is also talking about how just constantly being a woman in the world, it's just like all day, every day, there's just men that are trying to teach you something, trying to figure out how should a person be based on the people that she meets and the people that she's around, like how we construct our image or our selfhood, like based on examples from other people. Like maybe if I meet the right people, they will teach me something about how I should be, how a person should be, instead of just really diving into oneself. It's to kind of all the time look for examples of how a person should be in other people and how, well, just complicated that is. Some passages about struggling with the artist identity, I really felt Sheila's coming for me. Like, I really felt like I really just related to a scary degree, and I feel like this book made me spiral a little bit. Also, she talks about Moses and Israel and Judaism and like a lot of passages in this which are really interesting and also funny at some points. I have a feeling it will be a book like other Sheila Heti books I've read that I would like to reread at some point. There's a frustrating element to the character and to the friendship, but I think that it portrays friendship in a really interesting and pretty accurate way. I think we can all find ourselves in some way in some of these characters. Also they run like a ugly painting competition where they try to paint an ugly painting, and it's like very art school critical, the ridiculousness of art and art commerce. Like they go to like an art fair, kind of like Miami Basel, and like the politics around that and galleries and like small paintings versus big paintings. Like, I don't know, it was really like, that's my kind of shit actually. And it's a wild ride. Like, she says some crazy shit in this book that you're like, oh my God, Sheila, did you write that? Thoroughly, very, very satisfied with such tasty reads this week. So thank you for Julie for doing the Blurb Telephone. Oh, I did read a manga this week on the way back to Tel Aviv yesterday in the car, and then when I got home before I went to sleep, I watched Pato's video, 20 manga that you need to read or something. And one of them sounded really beautiful. It's called The Memories of Emanon. And so I read that like yesterday. And it was really beautiful. I used to read manga in high school, so that was kind of like a throwback also. Emanon is like this character who has lived since the beginning of existence. Her memories have been passed down since the very, very first organism on the earth. So at this point in the story, she has like billions of years of memories, and she, like when she has a child, then she will pass those memories on to her. And so this character meets this man on a cruise, and they just, it's like about their meeting. And it was very sweet and beautiful, and also, yeah, made me think, and the art style was absolutely gorgeous. I'm getting hot here in the sun, so thanks for watching. I'm gonna read some tiny books for Jessica's Tiny Book Challenge, so I'll obviously update you on what those are. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. I wanted this to be a short clip and it's 20 minutes. Okay, bye.